Hi, I'm Jeremy Steele. I'm the author of Now That You're a Youth Leader, and we're going to be talking today about the things you need to do in your first month when you're going into a new youth group as a youth leader. Maybe you're going in as a staff person, or maybe you're going in as a volunteer. But these tips are just to talk about that first month. But the first month is part of the first year, and the first year is really all about relationships. People sometimes will think that they need to get the program just right when they get there. That's not the case. The first year is all about forming those relationships. And if the first year is about that, that first month is really about those relationships. And so one of the things that you need to do your first month is to do your best to have a meeting outside the church, an individual meeting outside the church with all of your volunteers, your youth-aged leaders, and any staff people that are either your supervisors or related to, involved with the youth ministry. Those meetings are really about forming relationships. And so in those meetings, you want to just talk, get to know them a little bit, and find out something about them, something that you can talk to them about later. I think it's important after those meetings to take notes, to write the person's name down and write down something that you found out about them. Maybe their daughter is really involved in dance. Maybe they're a youth age leader and they're the captain of the football team. Whatever it is, put those notes together, and then next time you have a big gathering, go back and review those notes. See who it is, who does what, so that when you see that person that you met with this past week, you can ask them, say, how's your daughter doing with her dance, right? Or how's football going? Some people will think this is disingenuous, but really, you're wanting to get to know them, and you need sometimes, I know I do, help communicating that clearly and remembering that. Years from now, when you're still there, hopefully, you'll already know all this stuff. But in your first time, you want to make sure that you're communicating that you care about them, you want to have a relationship with them. And so taking some notes so that you can remember those things and have those meaningful conversations is important. But that's not all those meetings are about. It's important to build the relationships. It's also important to kind of just get the lay of the land as far as the program is going. So in those meetings, you're going to want to have some conversations about what's going well and what's going not so well. This can be a little difficult because people are going to be sensitive to the fact that they love certain things about the youth ministry, and they're afraid that you're going to change them. Far too often, people have had this pattern in youth ministry in a church where a new youth worker comes in, immediately changes everything, and that's always very traumatic, right? Changing things is difficult, and just about the time that the youth worker has gotten all of the changes made and the youth group has recovered from those changes, the youth worker leaves, and you've come in now, and they're afraid that you're going to change all of their favorite things again. And so the general rule is that first year is all about relationships, which means you're not changing any programs. Unless when you get there, somebody comes up to you, say, the building is on fire, this thing is crashing and burning, and it is essential to what we do. You absolutely need to change this and fix this right away. Unless that happens, you are not going to change anything. You're going to focus on relationships and not on program change that first year. And so in that conversation, if that's your orientation towards this year, just say it. Say, look, I am not looking to change anything, right? This first year is all about me getting to know you and me getting to know the programs. And so when we're talking about what is good, what needs more development, I'm not talking about canceling your favorite camp this year. You may cancel it in the future, but that's in the future. So when you're having that conversation one-on-one with those leaders, you're going to lead with the positive. Ask them to sing the praises of the youth ministry. Ask them specific questions like, what are some ways that God's used the youth ministry in your life? What are the ways that God has used you as a leader in the youth ministry? Where has that happened? What programs seem to be the best? What seems to be the most effective in different areas of ministry? All those kind of questions. Just let them sing the praises of the youth ministry, and then move in with a question that's not super harsh, right? Not where is everything broken and dying, but something along the lines of what programs do we need to really work on? They aren't quite there. Or what is something that we do that you think just misses the mark a little bit? Ask those questions, get some of that negative feedback, and then just take notes, right? Write it all down. You're trying to get the lay of the land. What's going well? What do people love? Trying to figure out what are the things that are like most important, right, to keep around if you're going to think about making changes in a year. That's important. It also can help give you some ideas when you're speaking in the first couple of months, things that you tell them that you're excited to experience, all of their favorite things. You can't wait to see what this camp or retreat or mission trip or fun event is like, right? All right, now that's those relational meetings. That first month is all about relationships, but there are some details that you need to know. Some details you need to figure out. The first one is what is the safety policy at your church? In the United Methodist Church, we call it safe sanctuaries. That's my denomination. But it's that policy that you have that governs, how many volunteers to student, the ratios, how do you deal with rooming and all that kind of stuff. You need to find that first thing and just commit it to memory. Really get it down so that you understand what is required of you in that policy. The next detail I think you need to find out is who can fire you, right? Who is the person that ultimately has that power? Because you need to understand when that person comes to you and says they think something's really wrong, that's a big deal. You need to really pay attention. And sometimes you can be surprised. Sometimes there are people that want to act like they can do that, act like they are your ultimate supervisor, but really aren't. They don't have that power. So find out who it is. Is it a committee? Is it a person? Is it your supervisor? And then kind of along with that, how are you going to be evaluated? What are they looking for from you, right? Sometimes it's strictly numbers. Sometimes it's stories. Sometimes they are actually expecting a decline, right? Something bad happened before you came on and they're expecting a decline. Find out how you're going to be evaluated, what their expectations are in really concrete terms so that you know what is being expected of you. Next little detail you need to know is the youth budget, right? Do you have a budget? You might be coming in as a volunteer, you don't have a budget at all, right? There is zero budget, but in that case, it's still, you're going to have to spend money, right? So where did that money come from? And what was it spent on? Sometimes you might be coming in as a volunteer and thinking there's no youth budget. When there was a youth budget, it just wasn't being spent very well. But you want to find out the youth budget, all the youth money, all the youth finances, and where they are right now, where they've been in the past, and all of that. And along with that, how do you spend money appropriately and request change? Is there a church credit card, right? How do you, if you've spent your own money, how do you request reimbursement for that, right? And so that is an important piece of how you file that so that you don't get kind of mixed up or stumble in the financial area right at the beginning by not saving the right kind of receipt or, turning in the right form. Next one is your vacation. This is really important to understand right at the beginning. How do you deal with vacation time and how do you deal with time off in general? Youth ministry takes place a lot of times on a normal day off, right? If you take Fridays and Saturdays off, for example, there are going to be many Fridays and Saturdays that you have to work. There's a youth program. Well, how do you deal with that? Because if you work those days off, your typical days off, which you normally do in youth ministry, there can be seasons where if you're not allowed to deal with that and take some other days off, you can go weeks without any days off. And so find out how it is that you shift days off and make up for that time? How do you plan that ahead? And then when you are going to get vacation, how much you're going to get, how do you request it off? If there's any rules around it, right? Some churches have a limited number of Sundays that you can take off, even if you have, lots of vacation time. So find all that out. There's actually a whole bunch of details, even more than that. But those I think are the most important ones right away. But there's more of those in my book, Now That You're a Youth Leader. There's a whole chapter on going month by month in your first year, that this content is in, and a whole lot more. But I'm really excited about this book because I've been involved in youth ministry for over 20 years. And the idea was that I wanted to put all of the practical youth ministry things that I've learned through my own mistakes in those 20 years, how to do a youth budget, how to recruit volunteers and keep them there, how to deal with drama that comes up in your youth ministry, how to evaluate curriculum, really all of it, the whole practical side of youth ministry. It's all in this one book. And so I really am excited about it because I think it's going to help people because so many of our youth workers, our youth leaders are new because people there's not a lot of people that last a long time. You don't have a bunch of people like me that have been in the field for 20 years. And so my hope is that you can learn from my mistakes. And my hope really is that this video has helped you with that first month. It also has helped you to realize you probably need to just go out and buy the book so that you can get all of those sort of practical tips. It's going to be from Abingdon. It's called Now That You're a Youth Leader. And hope you've taken these first month tips to heart, and we'll see you later.